Hello and welcome to Africa Live on CGTN. I'm Lindy Mtongana in Nairobi. Also coming up this half hour. 8 rescued from a collapsed mine in Zimbabwe, others still trapped. And why Chinese investors are keen to open green tea factories in Morocco. And we begin the program in Nigeria, where President Muhammadu Buhari and the leading opposition candidate Atiku Abubakar have been urging their supporters to remain calm. This after the postponement of elections scheduled for this Saturday. The announcement was made just 5 hours before polls were due to open. In a statement issued by his spokesperson Garba Shehu, President Buhari urged Nigerians to refrain from all civil disorder. Meanwhile, Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party also sought to avert any violence or protests and appealed to voters to be patient until next Saturday, when they'll be able to cast their ballots.
The President says, I therefore appeal to all Nigerians to refrain from all civil disorder and remain peaceful, patriotic and united, to ensure that no force or conspiracy derailed our democratic development.
Well, as long as they are secured and they are in the right, places, there is no cause for alarm. What will I tell Nigerians? I said, I'm appealing to Nigerians to please come out and vote. And I'm asking them to be patient about it.
Upon receiving the news of the extension of the polling date, President Buhari cut short his stay in his hometown, Katsina. He was meant to vote there today. He said he was disappointed at the deferment of the election date. He appealed to Nigerians not to engage in civil disorder. President Buhari, who's seeking re-election into office, said he is returning to ensure the stakeholders' dialogue called by the Electoral Commission in Abuja is successful. His closest challenger, Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, termed the postponement a provocation to his supporters. And like his main rival, Atiku appealed for calm and asked his supporters to turn up in large numbers to vote on February the 23rd. Kelechi Emekalam, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
Well, meanwhile, the chairman of Nigeria's Independent National Electoral Commission says the presidential election delay is in the overall best interest of the country's democracy. He says logistical setbacks meant not all polling stations would have been able to open on time for the elections to go ahead as planned.
Our overall assessment is that if the elections went on as planned, polls will not open at 8 in the morning in all polling units nationwide. Yet, we are determined that polls must hold at the same time and in every part of the country. In this way, no elections will be staggered. This is very important to public perception of elections as free, fair, and credible. We promise Nigerians that we shall be open, transparent, and responsive. While the Commission was considering the following Monday, 18th February 2019, as an option, our ICT department advised us that it would require 5 to 6 days to reconfigure about 180,000 smart card readers earlier programmed to work only on election day, Saturday, 16th February 2019. It is for this reason that the Commission decided to adjust the election dates to Saturday, 23rd February 2019 for presidential and National Assembly elections, and a consequential adjustment of governorship, state assembly, and FCT area council elections to Saturday, 9th March 2019.
Well, indeed, quite a turn of events for Election Day. Nigerian voters have been speaking out on this postponement of the elections. Here are some reactions from Abuja and Lagos.
I'm not very happy for this postponement of this election because many people are from different places. We are here since 4 o'clock to cast our vote to our own president we want. But right about now, they are telling us blah, blah, boom. Since 1983, this kind of a thing is still happening. Why?
What happened to the INEC that this very thing, now we're not even talking about last year, we're talking about the last month, the past month. We're not even talking about, we're talking about from January. Everybody knows that from January you have been talking about this very election. And this date, before even the January, it has been set. What happened to this very day that we are supposed to vote our election?
Any government that has the interest of the people at heart is meant to do what just happened. I'm actually in support of the cancellation of the election. What we're conversing for is actually a free, fair, and a credible election. And there is no way you can canvass for a free, fair, and credible election without a peaceful atmosphere.
I was very disappointed. In fact, I have to travel a long distance, which cost me money, leaving my work behind, and so many other things. In fact, I even have a family I have to travel with to get to this place in order to vote. And getting here, they are telling me the election, just to find out this morning that it has been postponed. That is to show that Nigeria is not in a good condition. Because if they are organized, they would have done this like 2 days before the election or a day before the election, so that everybody should know how to get back to where they are going and how to get back to their respective job.
Like some of us have children that they are given midterm break from school, and expenditures that are going to be put on ground to make sure that these children, go back to school on Monday. Now they have postponed the election. That is to say that the school will still give midterm break next week again. Then following, some of us have traveled to a close-by place where we are going to vote. We left our work in a far distance and come down to this place to come and vote. And coming down here, passing the night since yesterday, I've been here to make sure that I vote this morning. I just had the news early this morning that the election will be postponed.
Indeed, some disappointed voters there. And of course, many cities across Nigeria remain deserted in the wake of this election's postponement. From the Nigerian capital, Abuja, CGTN's Kelechi Mekalam reports it could take days before the city returns to normal as voters return from the countryside.
I'm in the central business district of Abuja, a city of over 2 million people. But it feels like a ghost town here. The streets are deserted, except for a few cars plying the roads. Also, several businesses are closed, as many had anticipated the elections would hold today. Most of the people who live here in Abuja come here to work. Apparently, they've had to go back to their original homes where they had previously registered to vote. Now, it would take days for this city to return to the usual buzz it's known for. The question is if they will be keen to return to their villages for next weekend's votes. Now, most of them had saved to go up country to cast their ballots, and it's very unlikely they will be keen to spend again. And that could have a real impact on voters' turnout next Saturday. Kelechi Mekalam, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
Well, still in Nigeria, 8 people have been killed in a suicide bombing in the northeastern city of Maiduguri. The attack is said to have been carried out by suspected Islamist extremists. The capital of northeast Borno State has been the worst hit by the Boko Haram militants and its offshoot Islamic State in West Africa. The incident took place hours before Nigeria's Electoral Commission announced the postponement of the national elections to February 23rd. Well, that is where we leave our Nigeria coverage. Let's turn to Senegal now, another country that's set to hold presidential elections on the 24th of February. Election materials have already been sent to various cities across the country and campaigning is in full swing. 5 candidates will contest the vote, including incumbent Macky Sall, who is seeking a second and final term in office. CGTN's Tuli Shabalala has more.
Senegalese will soon be heading to the polls to cast their ballots for a new leader. The candidates have been hot on the campaign trail looking for votes. Macky Sall, Madické Niang and Ousmane Sonko travelled to Casamance in the southern part of the country.
Of most importance to me was the opening up of Casamance by air, sea, land and interconnected electricity networks. Soon, You will no longer need isolated power plants but will be part of the national interconnected grid. We will complete the Universal Access to Electricity program for the whole of Casamance. I promise you the construction of the National Road Number 4 from Senoba to Ziganchor and as far as Guinea-Bissau.
Peace building and infrastructure development are some of the issues at the center of their campaigns.
When I was in government, I spared no effort to contribute my part to the return of definitive peace in Casamance. I believe that peace is the first step that can guarantee Senegal's political stability and allow us to develop our resources to achieve prosperity.
The candidates also want to create jobs in this region.
Casamance is a divine blessing for Senegal because of its enormous agricultural wealth. That is why we have to promote the processing industry. If we can't process our products on site, others will come and take them home. They will process them and put them in cans that they will bring back at much higher cost.
The February 24th election will be the country's 11th since its independence in 1960. About 6,500,000 voters are registered to vote. Thuli Shabalala, CGTN.
And time now for us to take a short break. Here's what's still ahead on the program. 8 rescued from a collapsed mine in Zimbabwe, others still trapped. And why Chinese investors are keen to open green tea factories in Morocco.
How will your world change today? What happens here? What happens there? Or what you make happen for yourself? If it matters to you, it matters to us too. Your stories are the stories that need to be told. Africa Live. Find your voice. Africa Live. Find your voice.
And we start in Zimbabwe now, where some of the miners trapped underground in 2 mines since Tuesday have been found alive. According to reports from the accident site, 8 survivors have been rescued. Farai Makutuya has more.
Rescuers had been working around the clock since Wednesday, trying to de-water mine shafts that had been flooded by water from a burst dam wall that had left dozens of miners trapped underground. Water levels had receded enough on Saturday morning for rescuers to go underground, where they found 2 survivors who claim that 6 other miners are still alive. At least 60 miners have been trapped at 2 gold mines at battlefields in the country's Mashonaland West province. The number could be higher, as some of the miners are thought to have entered the mine shafts secretly. Illegal mining is rampant in the mineral-rich area. Despite being a significant contributor to gold deliveries, small-scale mining remains largely unregulated and is fraught with safety and environmental issues. Farai Makutuya, CGTN, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Egyptian armed forces say a number of officers have been killed and others injured in North Sinai after gunmen attacked a security checkpoint. Here's Adel Al-Mahroui with more.
At 6 o'clock on Saturday morning, militants attacked a security checkpoint in North Sinai. Gunmen opened fire, killing and injuring 15 military personnel. The armed forces spokesman didn't specify the exact number of those killed from the injured. It didn't announce the number of the militants who attacked. In a statement, the military says it has killed 7 of the perpetrators during the crossfire. Security officials have started a hunt for the rest of the militant group's members. Army and police checkpoints have been commonly targeted in North Sinai. Recently, though, the number of attacks has significantly dropped. The last time the army announced an attack against a military checkpoint was in December. This is not the first attack this week. On Friday, 2 improvised explosive devices were found near a mosque in a crowded neighborhood in Giza City. No group has so far claimed responsibility for either attacks. The 2 incidents follow a parliament vote on Thursday to extend President El-Sisi's terms in office until the year 2034. It is still not clear if the attacks are related to the upcoming constitutional amendments, but it seems that securing the referendum, which is expected by May, could be a concern for the authorities. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
Now, staying in North Africa, a number of associations, activists and artists are launching a national campaign of solidarity with child cancer patients in Tunisia. Many children die every year in the country due to lack of treatment.
This is Salah Hazai's Cancer Institute in downtown Tunis. Some of these kids have spent over 2 years at this public healthcare facility. This week, they are playing with clowns with colored costumes instead of the doctors with white coats.
Many of these kids are from the inner regions. They have not seen their families for weeks because they are hospitalized for a long period of time for treatment. Clowns bring joy and give hope to child cancer patients.
Many parents are grateful to the civil society, including former cancer patients, for their effort. In fact, volunteers are giving hope, strength and healing to children who are fighting the deadly disease.
This is a special day in the life of my son and his friends. He is 10 years old. He spent more time at hospital than at home. Sometimes my son feels desperate and pessimistic, but an action like this gives hope and energy to fight cancer.
The Tunisian Association has realized the dreams of many child cancer patients. Some have traveled to their favorite destinations, while others have met their idols.
Realizing the dream of a child is a noble cause. We will never give enough love to these children. Our message is that a young cancer patient can survive and become a sports star or an artist. Hope and resilience is 80% of the cure.
Several child cancer associations in Tunisia will organize a month of solidarity with patients. They are collecting donations to build new cancer treatment centers in remote regions across the North African state.
According to the National Institute of Statistics, children from 0 to 14 years old represent 29.7% of the population. The incidence of cancer in children is 9.5 out of 100,000 children under 15, bringing the number of new cases per year between 300 and 350. Aden Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
Morocco is arguably the world's largest importer of green tea and the largest export market for Chinese green tea. In recent years, a number of Chinese tea companies have gradually entered the Moroccan market and invested in tea factories.
The preparation involves using green tea as the base with the addition of fresh mint and a small amount of sugar. The spicy flavor of Sahara mint and the fragrance of Chinese green tea are fully blended in a cup. This is the Moroccan national tea, mint tea. Moroccans love tea, but they do not produce it. More than 95% of the green tea comes from China. The population of more than 30 million consumes about 60,000 tons of tea per year.
Tea is a very important consumer product in Morocco. It's synonymous with hospitality in daily life. The imports of tea have a history of more than 300 years in Morocco, and we mainly import Chinese tea. I import about 350 tons of Chinese tea every year, and Chinese tea has a very wide customer base here.
A young Chinese tea merchant, Liu Jue, is in partnership with Abderrahim. His hometown Enshi is one of the major tea planting bases in Hubei province in China. In 2013, he visited Morocco and came up with the idea of conducting tea trade in the country.
At first, I didn't know there were tea products in Morocco. I happened to go to the supermarket by chance. I saw a row of tea which were all from China, and I found that the tea was from my hometown. I think we plant tea in my hometown and the tea was being sold here. Then I began the market research immediately.
In 2015, the Moroccan government reduced the import tariff on bulk tea from 25% to 2.5%. It also encouraged foreign companies to invest locally to boost the employment rate of the local labor force. Liu has now come up with the idea of running a local factory.
During this period, after careful inspection, I think Chinese companies can do it. And Chinese companies have the strength to do it. The market in Morocco is also relatively mature. The extension of opening up is relatively broad. Since 2015, I've made up my mind to start subcontracting my own brand in Morocco.
Liu's brand now occupies more than 70% of the market in Ouarzazate, a city on the edge of the Sahara Desert, and several surrounding towns. His tea processing factory on the outskirts of Casablanca was established in 2015. He hopes his company will expand to Europe, Northern and Western Africa in the coming years. Dina Matengo, CGTN.
And here's what's coming up in your sports news up next. Bafana Bafana's coach says he'll resign if South Africa fails to qualify for the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations.
Africa, where champions are made, records are broken, legends are born. We're there for every goal, for every knockout, for every step of the way. Match Point, only on CGTN.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
We begin with football news, where Stuart Baxter has once again stated that he will leave the head coach position should the South African national team fail to qualify for the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. Bafana Bafana must avoid defeat in their final group game against Libya to secure passage to the tournament. Here's CGTN's C.S. Duplessis with more.
The Englishman's comments certainly got tongues wagging across the Rainbow Nation, but for many they came as no surprise after the trials and tribulations he has endured in his second stint in charge of the South African national team. Baxter knows if he fails to get to AFCON, his time is up.
The comments, yes, maybe perhaps premature, but I understand where he's coming from. If he doesn't deliver, and everybody else